Salam and hello everybody. Assalamu alaikum. I hope you're all doing really well. So welcome to my latest video, which is a meal prep video, and it's like a mega meal prep for the winter holidays for a family of 8. So if you watched my recent grocery haul, we did a big huge shop for the holidays. Yeah, I just prepped loads of the meat and stuff, made quite a few meals, and alhamdulillah, I haven't had to do much cooking over the holidays. So the first thing I did this the night before. I prepped a load of onions, one of my least favorite jobs, but I do use a little chopper, which makes it a lot easier. So yeah, I've got a load of onions, basically just peel them and chop them. And then chopped them in this little food chopper. I had to do it in a few goes because it's only small. I should really get a bigger one, but it's fine. It does the job. So I decided to saute the onions like in one go. So I put 2 cups of sunflower oil. I know it seems like a lot, but it's going to make a lot of meals. So yeah, 2 cups of sunflower oil and then all the onions in the pan. Put it on like a medium to high heat, and I just cooked the onions until they were a nice brown color. And then I just put that aside to make use of the following day. I also made a mince and potato filling for some samosas I was going to make. Kind of been craving samosas. So yeah, I chopped up a load of potatoes. So add the chopped potatoes to a large pan, sprinkle over some salt, cover with cold water. Then you bring it to the boil, and then once it comes to the boil, leave it on the heat for about 4 or 5 minutes, and then just check that the potatoes are soft. And when they're soft, that means they're ready. So just take them off the heat, drain them through a colander, and pop them aside. So to make the mince filling for the samosas, I added some mince to a pan, and I saw this hack on Facebook. So to evenly kind of cook the mince, use a whisk, and it did make it a little bit easier actually. So I allowed the mince to brown and dried off any excess water. And then I add some of the sauteed onions. Some garlic and ginger paste. Some tomato puree. I've also added some salt, some cumin seeds, and all the spices, as you can see on the screen. And I love the colour that comes through on the mince when you add all those wonderful spices. And once you've cooked the mince in the spices for a few minutes, add in the cooked potatoes and just give it a good old mix. Add in a little bit of water. And make sure you add some lovely tamarind sauce if you can. So the samosa filling is all ready to fill some samosas the next day. So the following day I got on with my cooking, so I made 2 curries. Same method that I normally use when I cook my curries. So first of all, I'm chopping up 4 tomatoes for each curry. And I'm chopping up some garlic and ginger. So in 2 pans, add in some sauteed onions for each curry, as well as the chopped garlic and ginger. Add in the tomatoes. Cook the tomatoes until they're nice and soft. If they stick to the pan, just add a bit of water. And there's all the spices that I was going to add to each curry, exactly the same for each curry. So one curry I was making was a chicken nibbler and a spinach one, and the other one was just a lamb ribs curry. So once the tomatoes and onions are cooked, add in the spices and salt. And then add in the meat, so chicken niblets in one. And just kind of cook that until it goes white. And then add the lamb ribs to the other pan. I thought to make it extra tasty, I'd add some Greek yogurt. So to the lamb ribs curry, I added 3 tablespoons of Greek yogurt. And a tablespoon of Greek yogurt to the chicken niblet curry. It just makes it a little bit creamier, tastes nicer. And then I added the tin of spinach puree to the chicken niblets. Once that's cooked a little bit, add some water to each pan. And then bring each pan to the boil, cover and simmer, put on a low heat for about 30 minutes. Next up, I made some kebabs. So over the holidays, things like kebabs, samosas, spring rolls are perfect, isn't it? Things for the kids to snack on. Like, the kids have been so hungry all the time and they're just in the house, so they're constantly looking for snacks. So it's been really useful, even though it was a lot of work at the time. So some mince, I've got some chopped tomato and onion. I added in some garlic and ginger paste, a couple of spices, some salt, some lemon juice, an egg, and then some gram flour. If you don't have gram flour, just add plain flour, should be fine. And then I just gave that all a mix with my hand. So once that was all mixed, and then I used a cookie cutter, quite a large one, because kebabs do reduce in size quite a lot when you're cooking them. I used a large cookie cutter to shape them, and I was just kind of pressing them out a little bit more because the edges were a bit funny. And then I usually just cut around each kebab and then stack them one on top of the other. Once they're frozen, they're easy enough to separate from each other. So once I'd stacked the kebabs, I just popped them into a freezer bag and into the freezer, obviously. Next, I prepared the roast chicken, which was really easy. So I've got a lemon, I'm just poking it with a fork so that when it's cooking, all the juices come out nicely. I've got some coriander and mint, so I'm just stuffing the chicken with that. And then I'm sprinkling over the salt. It looks like a lot of salt, that doesn't it? But it tasted fine, you know. And then some coarse black pepper. A little bit of olive oil. And then I just put that into a freezer bag, stuffed it into a freezer bag and put that in the freezer. And on the day that we had it, just took it out in the morning, put it straight in the oven, and it tasted wonderful, you know. Next, I prepared a couple of tandoori chicken drumsticks. So again, I had in mind kids' snacks, and they've already finished these in like 1 or 2 days. So I've got 8 chicken drumsticks. I put some slits into the skin so that any marinade really soaks in. And then into a mixing bowl, I added whatever's on screen. Mix that all together. And then coat the chicken drumsticks in the marinade. And then I pop that into a roasting tray in some foil. Ready to go in the oven alongside some meatballs. So for the meatballs, I added some mince, garlic and ginger paste, a bit of mint sauce, whatever else was on screen. It's passed me by, so I've forgotten now. An egg and some lemon juice, a little bit of cayenne pepper and a chopped onion, and some plain flour. And just give that a good old mix with your hand, or if you don't want to, just use a spoon, it's fine. And then I shaped the meat into meatballs onto an oven rack covered in foil. How cute do they look? And then I popped them in the oven with the chicken drumsticks for about 30 minutes, 180 fan assisted, and they were cooked and fine. The drumsticks, I popped them in the fridge. So next up, I prepared some peri peri chicken wings. These we can have one day with some chips. So I've got the juice from 2 lemons. Add in 2 teaspoons of paprika, red chili flakes, some salt and dried oregano, some garlic and ginger paste, a little bit of olive oil. Mix that all together. And then add in some chicken wings with the skin on. Once the chicken wings were coated, I put that into a freezer bag. And next I made some chicken and mushroom pie for one dinner of the week. So to a pan, add in some olive oil and some chicken thigh pieces cut into small pieces. And then just cook that until it's white and then dry off the excess water. Slice a couple of mushrooms, my loves. So once you've kind of dried off the chicken, add in some sauteed onions. So these are the same onions that we made the day before, see? Still using them, still going strong. Yeah, so you got the onions, some garlic and ginger paste, little bit of salt, garam masala, some coarse black pepper, and then add in the sliced mushrooms and just cook that until the mushrooms are kind of soft. And then add in a tablespoon of tomato puree. And then I'm just making up some vegetable stock. So I've got a vegetable stock cube and 400 ml of water. So once you've mixed that, add it to the pan. Mix that all together and then add in 150 milliliters of double cream. Give that a lovely mix. Bring it to the boil. Turn it off and then let it cool a bit and then transfer it to a large oven dish. So yeah, I've just poured it into this glass oven dish. And then I've covered it with a sheet of puff pastry. Poked it with a fork all over. Covered with some milk to give it a bit of a glazing over the top. So that was all ready. I also added some ground white pepper, garlic and ginger paste, and that's all I added really, didn't need much. So to some tortilla wraps, add the chicken, some cheese, and that was the wraps done. So then it was time to actually make the samosas. So if you remember, we made the samosa filling. So I'm just making the samosa dough. So I've got some plain flour, some sunflower oil, a bit of salt, coarse black pepper, and some water. Adjust the measurements if you need to. You just want a nice, smooth, not overly sticky, not overly firm dough. If you've seen me making samosas before, you'll know that I part cook my samosa cases. I try to roll the little chapatis out as thin as possible. And I cook them till they're kind of lightly cooked on the pan or tawa. Because it really helps when you're wrapping the samosas, they're easier to shape. And yeah, the pastry dough doesn't rip or anything, so it just looks a lot nicer and it's a lot easier. Even though this is like an extra step, but it saves time in the long run, you see guys. So once I'd made the kind of chapatis for the samosas, I made like a flour paste or a glue. While the chapatis are still warm, cut them, and we're going to try and fill the samosas while they're still warm, because once they get cold they get harder and drier and it's not as easy to fill them. So this is just the method that I've learned growing up. and it's not caused me any problems. So this is the method I use. So make sure you press the edges with a fork so that the filling doesn't leak out when you're cooking them. And the final thing I made was some chicken, spring onion and sweet corn filling for some spring rolls. So I've got some chicken mince. Again, I'm using the hack, the whisk hack, to evenly cook the chicken mince. So I cooked the chicken mince until it was white and dried off any excess water. Added in some sauteed onions, a bit of garlic and ginger paste, a bit of tomato puree, a little bit of water because it looked quite dry. And then lots of spices and salt, as you can see on the screen. And look at the beautiful colour given to that mince. Would you have thought it started off pink or white? No, you wouldn't have imagined, would you? So I just cut up a few spring onions into the pan. So I turned the heat off at this point. Stirred in the spring onions, added some sweet corn. And then that was nice and ready to be used for spring rolls. So we've almost finished these spring rolls actually. The kids do love their spring rolls. And there's the massive pile of samosas and spring rolls right there. And there's all the food I made. Wow, it was a lot and it was intense, but it was wonderful to get all that cooking out of the way. Anyway, I really hope you enjoyed this. I hope you found it useful. Give the video a thumbs up if you did. Jazakallah, thank you so much for watching. Inshallah, I'll see you really soon. Take care. Salam. Bye.